How'd you get that blood on yourself?
Blood? What blood?
I'm gonna ask you again. If you give me attitude this time, I'm gonna drag you out of here by your hair.
Samuel L. Jackson is John Shaft, and Christian Bale is a rich killer in that scene from Shaft. One of 5 new movies we'll review this week, including Titan A.E. I'm Roger Ebert, film critic of the Chicago Sun-Times.
And I'm Richard Roeper, columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times.
Detective John Shaft was one of the heroes of the wave of black films that swept out of Hollywood in the late 60s and early 70s, ushering in today's world of major black stars and directors. Now comes Shaft for the year 2000, made by 2 big talents whose career paths were opened up by movies like the original Shaft.
Oh, I've been waiting for this all year. You are gone from this precinct. Gone. For what? Oh! That?
Samuel L. Jackson stars as Shaft, and John Singleton of Boys in the Hood is the director. As the story begins, a rich white kid has made a racist assault on a black bar patron, and Shaft's angry response has, of course, given his commanding officer an excuse to punish him. Shaft believes that a waitress played by Toni Collette was a witness to more than she wants to admit.
What'd you see, Diane?
Nothing, I swear. It's a zoo in here. You know, I'm working. How can I see anything?
The film has 2 strong supporting performances. Christian Bale, fresh from American Psycho and now wearing a JFK Jr. haircut, plays the rich killer, and Jeffrey Wright is a drug kingpin.
Need someone located.
Located? What do you mean, fella? Located and then what? That's gonna cost you.
There are times when Shaft seems to be having a tug of war with itself. Scenes like that one feel like they're from a subtle, ambitious urban drama, that they sort of clash with the stuff that's wildly implausible. That's when Shaft guns down countless bad guys and walks away untouched and unarrested. Maybe the film had to be more realistic or maybe a lot less realistic, but not an uneasy compromise. Samuel Jackson fills the role with complete confidence, and the movie gets the job done, but the new Shaft didn't quite work for me.
Oh, it worked for me on every level.
Right,
I thought
okay.
Samuel L. Jackson was great. It reminded me of, you know, Clint Eastwood is Dirty Harry
Yeah.
and Charles Bronson. I mean, it's a vigilante movie,
Yes.
is what he is. He's a cop, he's a detective, he's actually a vigilante. But I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I want to see, 10 minutes into it, I was thinking, franchise. I want to see Shaft's big score. I want to see, there's something about Shaft. I want to see Shaft builds his dream house. I just want to see this character. I thought Samuel L. Jackson just owned this role from the start. And yeah, you're right, there are some problems maybe with the 2 villains they have who are conflicting, but they're both great hams. And I just enjoyed watching him sail through
we
this
agree about Jackson. He is right as Shaft, and he is convincing as Shaft, and we are looking at a franchise here if that's what Jackson and Singleton want.
I hope so.
The point is, though, I think that this movie would have been better if it had taken either the high road or the low road. It's trying to take both roads at once. And so you have a scene that plays just as real as a Scorsese or a Spike Lee picture, and another scene that's straight out of the 70s.
See, I don't think it ever
and
took the high road.
You don't know what's real. Well, what about that scene where the killer goes to hire the drug kingpin to be the hit guy? The dialogue in that scene is really well done. Richard Price, who was one of the contributors to the screenplay, wrote clockers. It's the same kind of dialogue.
There's an authentic, gritty feel to it, but I thought everything was over the top, and it was enjoyable for me from start to finish. My favorite movie this summer, I was so disappointed by Nicolas Cage and Gone in 60 Seconds and Tom Cruise and Mission Impossible. This was the summer movie that I really thought I'd get my money's worth.
Okay, well, I give you that it gets the job done, but I think you could have done a better job.
Okay, next movie. Boys and Girls has Freddie Prinze Jr. and Claire Forlani as college students and best friends who are just too darn dim-witted to realize they're in love. Now, after accidentally bumping into each other something like about 5 million times, the uptight Ryan and the free-spirited Jennifer start doing the When Harry Met Sally tango. They go on long walks, they have meaningful conversations, and they support each other through a series of awful romantic relationships. Now, here Ryan comes to Jennifer's rescue during a really bad first date.
It's Mother. She's sick.
Oh, my God, what happened?
I just told you, she's sick.
Sick how?
Jason Biggs from American Pie plays Ryan's best friend, an insecure doofus whose attempts to score are pathetic and not so funny.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh.
So, let me ask you something. Exactly how far can you bend over?
Now, Claire Forlani is spectacular looking, but she has this weird habit of crossing her eyes when she concentrates. It's almost as if a bee has landed on her nose. And Freddie Prinze Jr., he's very engaging as well, but if he keeps doing these cookie-cutter youth romances, he could become the 21st century version of Andrew McCarthy. That's not a good thing. There's also a scary appearance here by Heather Donahue of Blair Witch Project, who does some sort of Shelley Long impersonation. Boys and girls should be avoided by boys and girls and moms and dads and even small dogs who like movies. It's that bad.
It's pretty bad, all right, but I'll defend Heather Donahue. I think she made a good transition here from Blair Witch. I thought she was perky and funny, and I liked her stuff. And actually, I like Claire Forlani and Freddie Prinze Jr. too, but not in the screenplay. When they first meet, the characters are 12 and 13, and by the end of the movie, they're essentially 12 and 13. I mean, they've never really grown up. These characters in a French movie would always be 13, because in Europe you get to be adult after a while, and in America they have this indefinitely extended stupid adolescence, so that even at the end of the movie they're still basically naive and clueless.
Well, please don't put these people in a French movie, because that means we'd have to sit through it again and go through this. But also, they're not consistent. I mean, he's supposed to be a very rigid character, and she's supposed to be a free spirit, but then we see them in high school, and he's the wacky mascot, and she's the homecoming queen, which would be the conformist. So it's not consistent in that respect.
No, and what about his job as a structural engineer, which consists apparently spending 4 years in college making models of bridges
that keep
little cars that go
apart.
back and forth? No, by the junior year, his bridges don't fall over anymore.
And
that's progress.
And you know, his roommate's Jason Biggs, who was funny in American Pie, but they give him wacky colored hair to show that he's nifty. You know, I mean, we've seen this so many times before, done much better.
You got it. Okay, coming up later, the animated space opera named Titan A.E.
We're going to stay right here.
Right here is about to be blown apart.
Coming up next, Billy Crudup stars in Jesus' Son.
Do I make you nervous?
No. Yeah. I don't have a job.
No kidding.
I smoke cigarettes.
And you talk nonstop.
No, I don't. No, usually I don't. Except when I'm nervous.
Billy Crudup and Samantha Morton play the two central characters in Jesus' Son. They're drug addicts who drift through a series of scenes that are sometimes painful, sometimes funny, sometimes playful, and sometimes just plain weird. The movie's based on short stories by Dennis Johnson, and it doesn't nail down a storyline, but is cheerfully episodic, just like the stories. It's narrated by Crudup as F.H., who is not a bad guy and in many ways is a pretty good guy, but strange things happen to him.
Are you hearing any unusual sounds or voices?
Not exactly.
Here, a fellow addict, played by Dennis Leary, enlists him to help tear the wiring out of a house so they can sell it and get high.
Who owns these houses, do you think?
This is my house.
It is?
Was.
Later, he gets a job as an emergency room orderly and tries to deal with a man who has walked in with a knife stuck in his eyeball. Greg German of Ally McBeal plays the unhinged doctor.
Is this a hospital? Is this the emergency room? Is that the patient? Are you the orderly?
Oh, hey. Hey, we got a guy down here in the ER with the knife, hunting knife, sticking into his brain. Yeah, it's sticking into his brain. Yeah. Well, yeah, the family service doctor is here, but he is limited, and he says he's not going to touch the head.
Trying to get sober, F.H. meets a character played by Dennis Hopper in Rehab.
I've been shot twice.
Twice?
Yeah, but once by each wife.
And an AA member played by Holly Hunter.
You weren't at the last couple of meetings.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't come to all the meetings. It was really my husband's, my last husband. I just come for the support.
There have been a lot of road movies and a lot of drug movies, but rarely one with quite this combination of bleakness, sadness, humor, and somehow charm. Jesus' Son was directed by Alison McLean from New Zealand, who sets the tone with the help of Crudup, who is not one of those desperate and destructive addicts like we usually get in the movies, but more of a guy who allows himself to be pushed this way and pushed that way by fate, luck, and coincidence. The dialogue in the movie is especially good, and the way it uses a few words suggests a lot of other things that remain unsaid. Jesus' Son is one of the best movies I've seen so far this year.
Well, it didn't work that way for me at all. I thought it was too self-conscious and trying to be unique with the narration and the voiceovers. And you mentioned that this guy isn't desperate. That's because he's an idiot, I think. I mean, and he never figures out what a bleak life he has. And some of the characters are interesting. I like that whole knife in the eye thing. I thought that was really funny. But it was like every single one of these characters is like the Character Actor Hall of Fame. Dennis Leary, Dennis Hopper, Holly Hunter, all these people. Jack Black is in there. You know, I don't think losers are always that interesting, and I would have liked to see maybe one of those characters stick with them throughout, but when we got to about the fifth wacky, weird character intervention thing,
it
lost me at that point.
I don't think we go to the movies in order to have a series of boring character actors. I think that the whole point is that there have to be, you know, we're going to be entertained, basically. And
Sure.
this guy, sure, he's clueless about how bleak his life is, but on the other hand, a lot of people lead lives like this. And it's
But
more
I don't know, I didn't
convincing
see why
because
he got
it
somewhere.
isn't
Why
all
did he get
pumped up.
somewhere? What happened to him in this movie that made him
He got
get somewhere?
sober. He
No,
got
it got to
sober.
the end of the movie. Why did he get
got
sober?
sober. He got sober because you either get sober or you die when you're in that situation.
Yeah, it just
Those are your
didn't work for me.
choices.
It
Two
didn't work
choices.
for me. Interesting little moments, but overall it fell apart for me.
Okay.
Okay, coming up next, aliens destroy the planet and space castaways forge a new life after Earth. Titan AE when we come back.
They're like ghosts. Sit down. Why don't you give them a run?
You sure about that?
Of course I'm sure.
Okay.
A soldier of fortune hands the reins to his brash young protege as they prepare to save the human race in Titan AE, a groundbreaking science fiction adventure combining the spirit of the Star Wars movies with the latest in animation technology. And even though it's set in the next millennium, there's no sign of John Travolta in dreadlocks, thank God. Now, the Luke Skywalker character here is Cale Tucker, whose father disappeared when Earth was blown to bits by the dredge. Now, Cale and most other humans are stuck doing menial labor in outer space.
At lunch, 1 hour for lunch.
Matt Damon voices Cale, and Drew Barrymore is the beautiful and feisty Akima, who has some piloting skills of her own.
She'll start. I'd lean back if I were you.
Should I get out and push?
Cale's hand is imprinted with a map to the legendary spaceship the Titan, built by his father.
Whoa!
Titan AE not only looks fantastic, it sounds great. For example, there's tremendous detail given to those ice crystals when they shatter. And the throbbing rock soundtrack only adds to the feel of a video game thrill ride, which for me was sustained throughout. Damon and Drew Barrymore, along with Nathan Lane and Janine Garofalo and Bill Pullman, among others, helped to create rich characters with their textured and warm readings. And the screenwriting team has done a really nice job of tailoring an admittedly familiar story to the cutting-edge look of the film. Now, other than that uninspired title, I can't think of a single dull element in this movie. I thought Titan AE totally rocked.
Boy, I love this movie. I really loved it.
Right.
You know, I
I'm glad
like
to hear
animation to begin with, and I love adult animation, although this could be also a great movie for kids, but it's not a dumb movie. These people are intelligent in the way that classic science fiction is intelligent, and the whole Ice Rings of Tigran sequence it's classic. It's really great when they're trying to sneak around those ice structures and they're trying to hide from the aliens and find the Titan. And as for the title, it's an odd enough title that maybe it's okay. I guess
I just hope it doesn't
After
stop.
Earth.
Yeah, it does, but I hope it doesn't stop people from going to see this movie because it's really worth going to check this out. It looks like no other animated movie we've seen.
You're right. This is up there in Star Wars territory, and it shows that animation can take science fiction to places that live action really can't get into.
Absolutely true.
Okay, next movie. Gene Siskel often complained on this show that the most consistently maligned character in recent American movies was the father. Mothers were saints and kids were colorful, but Dad was always stupid, perverted, reactionary, violent, or absent. I thought about that a lot while watching Pop and Me, a documentary about a father and son who go on a 6-month journey around the world. They meet a lot of other fathers and sons, and in a way, they meet themselves.
My name is Richard, and this is my son Chris here, and we're making a film of fathers and sons all over the world.
I couldn't believe my dad. He interrupted their meal, scored a free meal for us, and he got them to talk about their relationship.
That's Chris Rowe, the middle of 3 sons, and Richard Rowe, his father, whose marriage has ended. They've agreed that Richard will pay the bills and Chris will film the trip, but that leads to some disagreements.
You're continuing to question choices that I make.
Okay, like what?
Just everything.
I'm a curious guy, and you can say yes or no.
Yeah, curious,
Okay,
exactly.
okay, and I'm going to continue to be curious.
Lots of hugging between the generations goes on, except in Australia, where it's dismissed as wussy American stuff.
Shake his hand like a real man. Well, I'm proud of you, my father.
This is not an easy journey, and the movie is honest about that. There's friction between a dad who wants to call the shots and a son who wants to be trusted. A final joint bungee jump sort of brings them together, but the film leaves us with a lot of questions. It's as if both father and son are preserving a certain privacy, especially on the tricky subject of that divorce. Pop and Me has a lot of truth and some entertaining moments, and although it's not a great documentary, I think it evades too many obvious questions to qualify for a thumbs up. It's undeniably a feel-good experience and a change of pace after all those bad dads in the movies.
Yeah, well, I don't even know if it's a documentary. To me, it was like a film stunt. He gets together with his dad and says, if you pay for this trip, which must have cost $100 grand, then we'll make a movie about it. And the problem for me is the dad's a self-centered jerk, and the son is just plain boring. Some of the other fathers and sons are really interesting. There's some really touching moments. Julian Lennon has this great appearance where he talks about how his father had this message of love for the world but didn't show him. John Lennon, of course, being his father, didn't show him that sort of love. So I found that interesting, but the movie itself, and then the ending was just sort of an arbitrary thing. Oh, we're going to have a fight about this. Well, the fight's about the fact that Dad's paying for the whole thing in the first place.
Yeah, and it's too late for him not to pay for it at that point because all the money has been spent. Well, you know, the son is boring because we never find out anything about him.
Yeah.
But the dad is no more of a self-centered jerk than you would be, or I would be, or anyone would be.
Hey, wait a minute.
If they put a camera on us for 6 months as we go around the world. He's trying to deal with the fact that he's now in the final third of his life, and he's made some mistakes, and he's not a father anymore. And I found him to really be insightful and touchy. I didn't think he was a jerk at all.
No, we didn't know where he got his money from. We don't know why his marriage fell apart. We just find him saying, me, 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 me. That's Dad's story.
Okay, when we come back, a cult film from Canada about people trapped in a mysterious maze.
Roger Ebert in the Movies Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
For 3 years, people have been asking me if I've seen a Canadian movie named Cube, and for 3 years I've been saying no. But now I finally caught up with it on DVD, and I kind of got caught up in it, too. The movie involves characters trapped in a cube that has doors in all 6 of its surfaces. They have no idea how they got there or how to escape. Each smaller cube is part of a larger cube made up of 17,576 rooms. Some of them are deadly booby traps. They attempt to find the way out while their personalities generate tension and danger.
The only reason I dragged you this far is because I need your boots. If you don't smarten up, I'm gone like that. No more talking. No more guessing. Don't even think about nothing that's not right in front of you. That's the real challenge. You gotta save yourselves from yourselves.
Cube isn't a great movie, but it is an intriguing one and an ingenious idea for a low-budget picture, since only one set is recycled to make all of those different cubes. Cube is inventive, and it does get you involved, and it's my video pick of the week. Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed on this week's show. A split decision on Shaft. It's Richard's favorite summer action picture so far, but I thought it had a split personality. 2 thumbs down for Boys and Girls, a low-IQ college romance. Another split decision for Jesus' Son. I thought it was one of the best films of the year, but Richard thought it was too colorful for its own good. 2 big thumbs up, though, for Titan A.E., the groundbreaking animated space adventure that really thrilled both of us. And finally, 2 thumbs down for Pop and Me, the documentary Road Trip.
I'm already looking forward to the next chapter in the Shaft franchise.
Okay, but you know, Titan A.E. is really, it's really great. I loved it. Now, a final note. It was announced this week that the Film Center of the Art Institute of Chicago is going to open a new Cinematheque in the Chicago Loop and name it after Gene Siskel. I think Gene would have loved this idea. Donations are welcome, both large and small, and can be mailed to the Siskel Film Center, 37 South Wabash, Chicago 60603. That address and our reviews are at Ebert-movies.com, and Richard and I are both at suntimes.com. Next week, more new movies, including Jim Carrey with a split personality and Me, Myself, and Irene.
What the hell are you still doing here?
You can't get rid of me, Hank. Hank! Hank!
yourself. You're only hurting yourself.
And The Perfect Storm, starring George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.